Welcome to Jubilee 2025 Pilgrims of Hope, a podcast from the Catholic Courier celebrating this milestone year in the Universal Church with stories of faith and hope from around the Diocese of Rochester. Here's your host, Gina Capellazzi, digital content producer at the Catholic Courier.
Since the Jubilee Year of Hope opened, millions of people from around the world have made pilgrimages to Rome. But not everyone can make such a trip. That's why the Catholic Courier has put together a pilgrimage to help people celebrate the Jubilee year without leaving the Diocese of Rochester. In the July episode of the Courier's Jubilee 2025 Pilgrims of Hope podcast, Catholic Courier staff writers Jennifer Burke and Elena Cambio joined Catholic Courier Managing Editor Jennifer Ficcaglia to talk about the special project they created. So I now turn things over to Jennifer.
Thank you, Gina, and thank you to Jennifer Burke and Elena Cambio, who are staff writers at the Catholic Courier, and they are here to talk about the Catholic Courier's latest digital project called Rochester Relics Tour. It's something they collaborated on, and I'd like to start off with, getting a feel for what Rochester Relics Tour is, what it entails, what's included in it, and how do you envision that people will be using it? And who wants to start? Because you guys are on the other side of the interview today. It probably feels a little odd, but
it's unnatural.
Yes, right.
Well, I think the idea here was that realizing that our diocese does have relics, and people may want to venerate those relics, but don't know where to go and don't know how to start. So the idea for this interactive map was for people to be able to look both for the churches in their area or the particular saints that they might want to venerate to find out where those relics would be located.
Okay, so this is an interactive map. So we will be pinpointing the parishes that have relics for public veneration, and you'll be able to click on it, hover on it, and a box will open, and there will be some information. And I know, Jennifer, you were intent on having additional information, not just where the parish is with an address and maybe some hours and some contact information, but some more nitty-gritty stuff about the relics themselves. And what did you suggested a couple of indexes? So what else will people see besides the map?
So one of the indexes is by saint. So if there's a particular saint that someone has a devotion to or would like to venerate, they can search by that saint and find out which churches might have relics of that saint. And the other one is just by church, so by location. So if they want to just go somewhere that's near to them, or if they're going on vacation, Finger Lakes area is a great place for vacation. So if they're traveling down that way, they can see what might be nearby, and maybe they can stop in. So that's kind of what I was thinking with having it kind of searchable both ways.
Yeah, it's a lot of information, and it's accessible in a lot of different ways depending on how people would like to use it. So that's great. So this digital project that we've done, this is not the first digital project we've done, and so we know that usually from conception to actual launch, it takes a few months to, this isn't something that we just did overnight. But this project is a little more special than that. The roots of this project really run deep, from what I understand, for way back to 2023. So why don't we talk a little bit about that? Because in 2023, you each did stories about relics, and Jen's was first. So why don't you take it from there?
So we have a series, and it's called Why Do Catholics, as you both know, and it just kind of looks at different aspects of Catholicism that may be lesser known or misunderstood, and I thought relics would fit nicely into there. The topic of relics was always kind of fascinating to me. Like, so we have little bits of saints or their clothing, their items, and we go and we pray before them. It just seemed interesting and unique. So I thought maybe people would like to learn about that. I would like to learn more about that. So I did a Why Do Catholics story about relics and learned all about them. And that was that.
And then and that was in October. Yes. It was published. So it's on our website. And then a couple months later, Elena followed up with a story of a specific relic. Why don't you talk to us about that?
Sure. So it was a sort of a last minute thing. We found out that Assumption Church in Fairport was going to host a tour of the arm of St. Jude. So for them, it was a last minute thing to be able to fit it in to the Relics Tour schedule. So I went to do the story on that, and I was able to speak with the priest who had brought this relic with him. And so I got a lot of good information about this. And I experienced it, actually. I went to the Mass, and I myself prayed before the relic, and I was there with many other people. And so for me, that was an experience of the first time I'd experienced praying with a major relic of a saint. And then when I read Jen's story, I was really impressed, actually, by how she wrote it and her reporting. And so I remember going to her office at some point. I think it was maybe in January or something. And just talking to her about how venerating relics is an important part, I think, of being a Catholic and honoring the saints. So that got me interested in what she was doing. And that was really the genesis of our discussion. Wouldn't it be neat if we had the opportunity to show people that we have relics right here in our own diocese, that they don't have to go elsewhere? So that was the genesis of thinking about how can we build something that will lead other people to this devotion.
Like, sorry.
Go ahead.
We just thought, well, you're interested, I'm interested, probably other people are too.
Mm-hmm.
They might not even know they're interested or know what we have. Like you said, so many local resources.
So why now? I mean, you've been talking about this on and off, it sounds like, for a couple of years, and it's 2025. The July of 2025 is when it launched. Why are you doing it now? Why did you bring this to our attention earlier this year, and we all, had staff discussions about it?
Well, I think we like you said, we talked about it for a long time. It never seemed like quite the right time. Everyone's busy. But then now with the Jubilee year, we thought, during this Jubilee year, Catholics are being encouraged to make pilgrimages. And since there are so many different sites with relics, you could kind of make a pilgrimage of your own to visit and venerate these different relics. So it seemed like it could tie in.
So how many churches are involved in this relics project?
We have 13, including the cathedral.
Okay.
And we included the cathedral because even though those relics aren't displayed necessarily for public veneration, there are hundreds of those relics in the base of the altar at the cathedral. And if you include the cathedral in your pilgrimage, then you could take advantage of the indulgence that's associated with the Jubilee year.
Perfect. That's a good opportunity because not everyone can go to Rome for a pilgrimage, so why not do one in your own backyard?
Right.
It's a great service for the people of our diocese. Mm-hmm. So I am curious, since obviously you have a shared interest in saints and relics, do you have any personal anecdotes about saints or saints' relics, or do you have a specific saint that you have a devotion to? Either of you?
For me, I would say Mary. Since becoming a mom, I have found myself turning to her many, many times and praying for her intercession. And becoming a mom has humanized the saints in many ways, especially those that were mothers, to think that they also went through many of the same struggles that I go through. And they persevered and they remained faithful through all of it. And I find that very inspiring. And it's just great to have them to look to and to ask for their intercession.
How about you, Elena? Do you have any anecdotes about venerating relics? That's or beautiful. Favorite saint?
Yes. So last year in 2024, I made a pilgrimage of my own to South Korea. I lived there previously, but I wanted to go back and recognize the Korean martyrs. The Korean church started through the martyrs. There are tens of thousands of them. So what was wonderful about the experience was that I had an opportunity to venerate the major relic of St. Andrew Kim Dae-gon, who's the patron of Korea, of all of Korea. And it was an unexpected opportunity that was brought to me by a seminarian, a Korean seminarian who was my guide for the day. So it wasn't on my itinerary, but God provided, and there it was. And it was really incredible because I was alone in this chapel with the seminarian. And I was able to pray before the major relic, and it reminded me actually of being in the presence of St. Jude's arm. There was that same sense of presence and holiness and peace. So I was very grateful for that opportunity, and I carry it with me. And I'm making a documentary about that experience of being on pilgrimage in Korea. So thankfully, the seminarian was able to get some images of me praying before the relic in the reliquary.
And I've given you an assignment to blog about it too, right?
Correct. I will be blogging about that
So we want to
experience.
hear more about that. It sounds like a wonderful opportunity that you had. So, and just listening to how the two of you talk about the saints, is that the type of feeling? Is that the type of things that you want the people of our diocese or anyone who happens upon our digital project to get out of the Rochester Relics Tour? And what do you want them to take away from it?
I would absolutely say that's what we want. I think one of the treasures of the Catholic Church is the saints, and that we have these people that we can look to for guidance, inspiration, prayer. So this, I think, will help people become aware of who is available to them, and where to go to kind of have that kind of experience. That's my thought on it. What about you?
For sure, yeah. I think the other value of it is, we mentioned earlier in the summer months when people are traveling, that this is a wonderful way to show their children, for parents to show their children, again, the treasures of the church. And that praying as a family at these various locations, I think, is going to be a wonderful opportunity for families to pray together, to deepen their faith together, and also to learn more about some of the saints that maybe they haven't heard of before, because there are so many saints that there may be those that they haven't heard of and maybe they want to learn more about.
Well, sounds good. And I'm so glad that the two of you collaborated on this project and brought it to the rest of us. And we all kind of got right behind it. And Matt Saxon, I'd like to shout out to him. He's our graphics manager, and he's the one who designed the project and helped bring it to fruition as well. So I would like to thank the two of you again for being here. And we're turning it back to Gina. Gina's going to let you know how you can find this digital project and how you can participate in the Rochester Relics Tour.
Thanks, Jennifer. You can visit Jennifer and Elena's Rochester Relics Tour at catholiccourier.com/relics tour. You can find that link along with links about Jubilee year 2025 in the description below this video. Or if you're listening to the audio-only version of this episode, you can find the links in the description below your podcast player. Thank you for joining the Courier's Jubilee 2025 Pilgrims of Hope podcast. The next episode will feature some of the young adults who are part of the growing number of young adult ministries in the Diocese of Rochester. That episode comes out on August 21st.